In this section of the tutorial, I will talk about how I go about creating the first topology pass, where I want to think about defining the topology for clean sculpting, while setting myself up for the second pass later, where I'll focus more on defamation and volume retention. Now, the most ideal topology for your model is subjective, and really you'll want to be conducting rigging and deformation tests to fully understand the topological requirements of your model. But as with the head, I'm going to approach this in the most general way I know how, which should help you understand the brunt of the retopology process. So the first thing I'll do is bring in the head topology, which I've already made in the same way as outlined in my head topology tutorial. And since I'm going to be using symmetry, I'll delete one side of the retopology mesh and turn symmetry on. I will eventually need to match the number of edges coming from the body with the number of edges flowing into the neck, but I won't worry about that until much later. So first, let's put loops in at the shoulder, elbow and wrist. Each loop consists of 8 faces. And make sure you even them out. Now, the shoulder will get a little more complicated later, but this is fine for now. Now create a loop around the centre of the breast. Again, this consists of 8 faces. Move the vertices on the inside of the loop to where the nipple will be. Create a square shape like this. Now add a vertex in the centre and create 4 new faces. If you want your model to have a nipple, you can extrude from these later. Now add a few edge loops and arrange to better conform to the underlying shape. The number of loops required here is dependent on the lewdness of the model. Now delete the top 2 faces, and the reason I did this is because we're going to break the loop and create our first pole. Add a new face on either side to reroute the geometry towards the head. Now we can connect these back together. Now create another loop around the torso just beneath the breast. I'll connect the bottom centered faces while following the general shape of the rib cage. I create 8 faces here, which is 16 in total counting the mirrored geometry. I count 4 from the front and 4 from the back to make this simple. Now create a loop around the leg, which sits right beneath the buttocks. Again, this will consist of 8 faces. Repeat this for the knees and the ankles. So let's come back up to the breast and let's loop it around the shape of the shoulder. I'll connect it to the first, second, third face from the top centered edge like so. And then again round the back, I'll find the first, second, third face from the top centered edge and create a new face towards the center of the back. I'll subdivide this later. Now let's connect these faces by following the shape of the deltoid round to the back. I use 6 faces to do this. Again, just think 3 at the front, 3 at the back. I'll also make an extra cut which will allow me to add definition to the deltoid, as well as add the crease beneath the breast. Now I'll make a loop that runs parallel with the shoulder loop we created at the start. You can check the loop is correct by using the loop cut tool without clicking to accept. Most retopology tools have this function. If not, just make the cut and then undo. And in this loop I want to add perpendicular cuts on either side of the top centered edge and either side of the bottom centered edge. Then I can fill in the rest of the shoulder. Now let's create a loop around the arm that connects to our shoulder topology. We'll create a couple of poles doing this, but don't worry about these since they'll sit in areas where the shoulder will naturally crease anyway. Again, test you did it correctly by using the loop cut tool. If it's clean, the cut will go all the way around. Now we can connect the shoulder to the elbow and the elbow to the wrist. Also add in a few edge loops to better conform to the shape of the arm. While I'm at it, I'll add those extra cuts in the back too. Then I'll fill in the middle of the breast section like so. I don't really want to carry this thinly stretched poly loop up towards the head, so I'll route it towards the centre at a convenient place. And then I'll fill in this row of polygons above, creating a new pole. Next I'll arrange the polygons at the top of the shoulder so that they flow around the acromion process, which is the little bump at the end of your clavicle. Then I'll create two polygons connected to our shoulder topology, roughly where the acromion lies. I'll create two poles here by redirecting the flow towards the centre of the body, creating a loop. Note that this loop runs over the top of the clavicles. Now I can fill in the gaps. In fact, let's start filling in the rest of the upper back. I'll place a pole here to escape the loop around the shoulder. Don't worry if the number of edges don't match up perfectly, I can simply add a cut here and we're good to go. Don't forget to even out the polygon size as you progress. And while we're bridging loops, we might as well fill in the legs too. This process is essentially the same as with the arms. By the way, if your Retopology tools has a bridge function, then you can do this process a lot quicker using that. With the legs done, route these central polygons down beneath the crotch and then up into the back like so. Now I'll fill in a few loops down towards the hips until I reach the top of the buttocks. To finish up the body, I'll join the middle faces of the legs like so. Don't be afraid to reposition edges if you need to. Next I'll make two vertical cuts on either side of the centre line of the breast. And I'll make two cuts into the leg too, one near the centre and then another one somewhere else, it doesn't matter too much where. Now I'll start filling in these gaps. Notice how the first polygon routes under the crotch, but the rest go straight down the leg, creating this pole. Don't worry about how stretched these polygons look, as we're going to add some cuts now. I'll add the first cut around the crease of the buttocks and connect it to this polygon, creating a pole. Then I'll add two more cuts to match those I already have at the centre of the back and fill in the rest. Don't forget to even out polys and add more cuts as necessary. Because hands are intricate, they require more polygons than in the arm, so generally you'll need to add edges into the arm and reduce the number of edges coming from the hand. With this foresight, we can use it to our advantage because we still need to match the number of polygons from our body into our neck, so there's a good chance we can kill two birds with one stone here. If we count, we can see we have 13 polygons flowing from the neck, and 11 polygons flowing from the body. That means if I make 2 cuts at the shoulder like this, not only can we now join up the neck, which I'll do now, but we also have more polygons to play with down at the hand. Remember to keep those polys tidy as you go. I'll try to avoid making more cuts down the arm, but if I absolutely needed to, I can cut it down the back so that I don't start making cuts way up into the neck and head. If you follow my channel, you know I give out tons of information for free, but I also need to create premium content in order to support the free content, and apparently you're supposed to feed your children or something. Now, the first tutorials of this mini course will be totally free, and you can pick up the remaining tutorials as well as Pass 1 and Pass 2 stylized base meshes and the reference sheets from gumroad.com/DannyMac, to which I'll leave a link to in the description. The base meshes are intended to be for you to learn from, but feel free to use them as you like.